Hey everyone, welcome to my channel or welcome back. Today I'm giving you a behind the scenes look at the design development process for an office break room. I'll be walking you through the steps of this exciting phase on a project that I am currently working on, so let's dive right into the details. Here are photos of how it looks right now. The kitchen design of this break room is pretty dated and it doesn't have the functionality that my client is looking for. They definitely lack a lot of storage space. It needs a better flow and the style definitely needs to be upgraded to match the rest of the office. Fun fact, I actually designed my client's office space back in 2020, but we never ended up implementing the kitchen design. I did design it back when I did the office, but my client never pulled the plug on the kitchen design, and looking back, I'm glad he didn't because I don't like the design that I came up with back then. And if you're curious to see how I originally designed it, here are the 3D renderings, completely different than what I have designed now. I feel like the design that I came up with back then just feels so plain. There's not much excitement and it was just lacking a lot of customization. And I was sourcing from Home Depot, guys. I was designing the kitchen using the cabinets that Home Depot sells. But you know what? That is growth. I'll give myself some credit though because we have come a long way, and honestly I created this kitchen design back when I literally just started my business. Anyways, let's keep moving and let's start with the programming phase. My client is in the frozen food business and they found that they needed this kitchen to be a hybrid of a commercial and corporate kitchen. They told me that the sink that they currently have is often occupied with frozen food that they need to thaw out. So it basically leaves them with no other sink to use for the employees, and sometimes they use the kitchen for food demonstrations. So here are the requirements that my client told me of what they need. The 2-compartment commercial sink, so they can use that one for thawing frozen food. A regular under-counter sink for the employees. A commercial under-counter freezer and fridge because they need the freezer and fridge to store all their frozen food and the foods that they sell. A dishwasher because they currently do not have one. An ice maker because when they do food demonstrations, sometimes they find that they need to go out and buy ice every time, so they want an ice maker that they can use. A regular fridge for the employees, and an area for the existing appliances that they currently have, like the water dispenser, the oven toaster, and the microwave, and lots of cabinet storage space. Before we can even get started on the design, we must construct the mood board. And as I was discussing the project with my client, I wanted to ensure that this space felt seamlessly connected with the overall office space. Since this office has been developed in phases over the years, I needed to carefully consider the aesthetic and the design because I'm not the same designer that I was back in 2020. So obviously my taste has changed. So as I was trying to determine the style and aesthetic for the kitchen, I wanted to make sure that it felt connected with the other office spaces and that it didn't feel like it stood out. So blue being the prominent color in the business logo, I felt like it was essential to highlight in the design and carry those blue tones into the kitchen. Which is why you see blue in the mood board. We're going to have quite a few stainless steel appliances. I also wanted to make sure that there was some warmth, which is why I brought in, like this warm walnut tone. I also placed in an appliance cabinet snapshot to show my client that we are thinking of having some type of organization to the kitchen cabinet. So yeah, overall, my goal was to make sure that this kitchen screamed sleek, efficient, and vibrant. Okay, we have reached the most intense part of the process. In reality, this particular stage unfolds over several days, so I'm going to squeeze it all together for this one video. To start out, I needed to make the cabinet layout sketch. And I could have used, a pen and paper to sketch it out, but my brain works better as I 3D model things, so my first step was to lay out the cabinet layout. So I used a block, just created a block to lay it out so I can visually see it. I knew I wanted cabinets along the east wall and create an L-shaped design along the other walls, which left the center open for the community table that I envisioned. Next, I focused on positioning the new and existing appliances. Because those were the important things, I had to find a spot for the 2-compartment sink and the fridge and the freezer and the sink and the dishwasher. As I fine-tuned their positions, the overall flow of the kitchen just kind of began to take its shape. Once I felt like I had a good hand on the appliance locations, I moved on to the base cabinets. So I started by filling in the empty spaces and determining the ideal sizes that would fit. I also focused on crucial elements like the appliance garage cabinet and the microwave placement, making sure that they were in the best possible spots. And once I had the base cabinets sorted, I shifted to the upper cabinets. After I had a solid grasp on the layout, I started selecting the cabinet colors and the door styles. I knew, like I said, I wanted blue cabinets, but because the space is a pretty decent size, going all blue, I felt it would be too much blue overboard. So to balance it out, I opted for gray base cabinets, which was actually perfect because I felt like that complemented the stainless steel elements. And from there, everything started falling into place. I selected the countertop, the faucet style, the cabinet poles, the towel dispenser, and counter stools. I also spent quite a bit of time experimenting with the backsplash. Several times, actually, until it all came perfectly together. One thing I dislike is having dead space above cabinets, because I used to design upper cabinets with empty space above them and I would cringe. But these uppers are 42 inches tall, and there was still a significant gap between, the top of the cabinet to the ceiling. And initially I had considered adding a soffit to fill in the space, but then I had a light bulb moment. I said, wait a dang minute. I have more than a foot of space above the uppers, which meant I was able to place in some 12-inch high uppers. And that was just perfect because that would add more storage space for my clients and it would fill in that, enormous gap. After I added the top cabinets, I still had some space left. So, what better way to polish it off with a flat panel crown molding for, that clean polished look. If you didn't notice, I ended up swapping the floor tile that I originally chose. As I start selecting materials and I see how everything comes together, I often switch things up. In this case, as I was designing, I felt like the ceramic tile made the kitchen feel really cold. With all the cool tones and the colors already in the design, I realized that I needed to bring in some warmth to match the mood board's vibe, because with the ceramic tile, everything was just looking cold. And just by changing the flooring, it completely transformed the space and I was liking it way much better. By this point, I felt pretty confident in the kitchen cabinet design, so I moved on to creating detailed drawings for quoting purposes. So these drawings are essential for my kitchen vendor to provide an accurate quote of everything that we need from them. And while I'm working on these detailed drawings, I make sure to note everything I want included, and I'm double checking my notes to make sure that nothing was overlooked. And good thing I checked, because I realized I forgot to include one important cabinet, which is the trash pullout. Luckily, I was able to find a good spot because, oh child, to have to recreate, and space plan everything out again just to add a cabinet would be a very time-consuming task, because as I'm placing these cabinet styles and sizes, everything is calculated by this point. But you know what? I'd rather catch it now than later on. So thankfully, I caught that. Alright, so we are nearing the finish line, guys. After finalizing the detail drawings, I wrapped up the design by sourcing some accessories for the shelves and preparing the 3D model for renderings. I use Enscape for my renderings and I love it because it allows me to create these high quality visuals in just minutes. I'm not a pro, so don't come at me, judge my renderings, but once the renderings are complete, the final step is creating the presentation deck. This is what I present to my client, so it has to be very clear, informative, and organized in a way that it ensures that, they fully understand the design and everything that is involved. Just when I thought I was done, I made a few final tweaks. By this point, I had received the quote from the stone fabricator, and I had to go a different route with the stone, because the quote that I received for this community table, that price was high. So I had to think last second how to re-engineer this and bring the cost down. So I had to choose a quartz. Originally, I wanted to do Dekton, but I did not realize how Dekton is actually pretty pricey, and it's more because of the fabrication. And the other reason why the price was a little bit higher was because we discussed adding pop-up outlets to the community table. This was actually the fabricator's idea, which I was like, you know what? Yeah, that would be really neat to have that for, when they're doing presentations. So I thought it was such a clever and functional idea. Okay, so let me share my final thoughts to the layout design. On the east wall, this one was kind of dedicated to be the commercial kitchen side because it has the 2-compartment sink, the commercial freezer and fridge. So it gives the space that they need for all the commercial needs. And it has the regular standard upper cabinets and a paper towel dispenser. Moving on to the north wall. So this is more dedicated to be the corporate area, because we have the regular sink, we have the dishwasher next to the sink, the ice maker machine, and at the far right end is the coffee station area. And it just made sense to keep the coffee area near the sink. And obviously we always have to have the dishwasher next to the sink, and then having open shelves above the coffee station area, I just felt like it just made it a little bit more homey in a way, and less heavy. So just kind of breaking that one space off with shelves, I felt like changed the vibe for the better. And for the west wall, this is more of the appliance wall. And I decided to separate these appliances for a better traffic flow. The fridge being the central focus, it's the main point. On the right is the microwave, and on the left is the oven toasters and the water dispenser. So kind of my thought process was let's say an employee comes in, they take their food out of the fridge, they have the right area, which is the microwave area. They have that counter space to, take their food, lay their containers. And let's say somebody else comes in and they need to put bagels in a toaster. So they have that left side. So it kind of separates that traffic flow, which is why, at the end is the water dispenser, because it kind of spaces them out in a way. So that was kind of my thought process. I hope that makes sense. But as of right now, we are trying to finalize the construction date to begin the demo. But I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Is there anything you would have changed or added? I hope you enjoyed this in-depth design video and letting you in on my thought process. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and I will catch you on the next video. Peace.